Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Good to see you. Day two. I know it's a little busier today. I'm Pierce, general manager for TradingView. I also run another company called Merchant Seven as well. Today, we're actually going to be talking a little bit about memes, but also some of the trajectory of TradingView over time. So strap yourselves in. Obviously, I want to keep it more fun as we're kind of like the right before lunch session. So not going to talk about like on-chain data or kind of more niche topics. And obviously, for those who know TradingView, we do a lot more than just crypto. So it's also good to like have a perspective on the larger industry in general. Um, so the story of TradingView is pretty interesting. Oh, obviously disclosures, not financial advice. Um, So here's kind of the agenda of the day, like what we think we can cover best, and what really matters for TradingView and also community development over the next probably call it a year. So we'll focus on community and product. What I think is really interesting about crypto in general is we're having a big kind of demand curve for building communities. In general, community development is something that everybody thinks they need, but nobody actually knows how to build. So native communities have kind of died. In a lot of cases, people just hire interns to kind of do the job of what a community actually really is supposed to be. And the reason I think it's really interesting in parallel is everybody's completely blasted by notifications, a lot of time spent on kind of engagement online. And none of that really translates to crypto as much as it really should. So what we've kind of centered on, and what I think a lot of the industry is kind of focused on, at least right now, is that memes have become kind of the translation mechanism for a lot of the industry. And what I mean by that is, if we really do think that memes are kind of the main way for people to communicate, um, do memes become kind of the central nervous system, if you will, of crypto that allows community to actually consist and persist longer than the average communities do. So what we've seen so far in like the first iteration of memes and meme coins in kind of this like community wave is people basically think that they can raise money and then they basically deploy that towards celebrities or interns. Everybody knows that they have a crypto intern. I'm sure you guys all hire somebody to run your social accounts, and then they believe that the community they can check that box. Um, and then over time, obviously, the main mechanism is you unlock some tokens, or you have like a list of tokens that you delegate out to various members, and they can actually help you gain notoriety or gain adoption or something like that. The problem is that this is oftentimes the greatest way to absolutely liquidate yourself over the course of probably 6 months. And so a lot of the staying power of memes don't work. Memes inherently are very short-term bias. There's no real interest in building long-term community or long-term value. And so the main problem that we see with this kind of meme economy is that nobody is in it for the long term. As soon as kind of a market peaks and dies, you will see that kind of literally on chain as the network dries up and nobody really stays involved. So, who's entered this space and who's kind of matching memes with on-chain activity? Well, so back in the day, the first was obviously when we were talking about institutions 3 years ago. That was kind of the initial grift, if you will. But today, grift is very very different. Basically, a lot of celebrities are involved now. A lot of people who really don't spend a ton of time in crypto, but believe that it's a get rich quick scheme, and thus you have kind of a perfect storm, or basically a perfect storm for scammers and grifters to monetize communities and then leave. So if you ever get an email from anybody like this, I highly suggest thinking twice about collaborating or doing anything more significant. And the thing is, these guys are still very notable in the space. I don't know if you guys are watching the internet lately, but it's literally like they are definitely still very present and still actually getting like deals done, even though they're consistent in their effort to dump on retail. So what's interesting is that people have centered around memes as kind of a way to also monetize retail, but they've totally lost track of the fact that the idea of memes initially was to create community around retail as kind of the main conduit for retail conversation and retail connection. And so when things come up like this, I really do question in general how much time is being spent monetizing retail versus actually building communities for retail. And when we're talking about religion as kind of like a strategy, it does really raise questions to me as to how much time is being spent, kind of monetizing retail versus actually building something of a community basis. So this is often the case with a lot of these memes, right? Memes, love to promise the world, but the simple reality is that the likelihood of them actually paying off in any meaningful way, both from a community perspective, but also from a monetary perspective, is oftentimes really not the case. Okay, so if you're trying to build community and using memes as a mechanism for that, what does a network look like that's built around a given meme? So if we want to compare like maybe Web 2, which is where I spent most of my time, versus Web 3, you can kind of build this platform, which is a network node, which is an individual meme or community, and then individual players who are actually part of the community or parts of various other communities. So in this case, the most common I think would be Solana being the network. Maybe one of the like pop cats or something like that being the actual meme or the community. And then the individuals obviously traversing between memes or traversing between communities across the chain. But can memes really be a community themselves, or are they really just a translation method for people to chat? So there's different things that we look at least at TradingView, to define, is this a successful community or not? And a lot of that has to do with, what the actual mechanics are of a given social network or a given network in general. So I bring up three comparisons, right? And apologies if there's cooler comparisons. I didn't really want to spend a ton of time on like digging into the coolest memes, but there's three real different types of memes. There's ultimately a widespread retail meme. There's kind of a gate-kept community meme, and then there's kind of universal memes or universal truths. And depending on where you are on the spectrum, these are very, very different strategies. And when you're trying to build a community, trying to think about how do I deploy this to various community members, you can really adopt three completely different strategies for this. So what I try to think about, and at TradingView, we do a lot of network analysis and understanding kind of subnets on top of TradingView. Obviously, for those who don't know, I can get into a little bit more of what TradingView does, but basically, this is kind of what we're focused on. So these are very different types of networks, and you can basically look at them as nodes within networks and networks within nodes. So healthy networks will end up looking something like this. Basically, you have people that are kind of coordinated in the middle of the actual network. You have very, very hype many supporters. You have connectors or networks that translate to each other. And then you have people that are actually trying to help the network or build the network better. Most memes, unfortunately, and this kind of does resemble maybe what you see in a corporate environment, most memes actually represent kind of a very similar structure that you've also seen in things like Herbalife, et cetera. Not very reflective of a solid community. So ultimately, when picking your meme or trying to think about from an investment perspective, what's a long-term bet, think about the key mechanics of how the network actually works. So distribution. I'm not going to get into this, but basically, this is another key thing to think about: distribution and what to avoid. And what I think is amazing is there's a ton of folks that have focused on basically dumping on retail, but pretending to be a community. And so I would encourage you to also be very, very cautious when somebody says, it's a really solid community. You're gonna have a great time. When the reality is for the most part, they're probably the 40% allocation that is going to dump on you as soon as you join. So I think the thing is it seems kind of pessimistic, at least first take. But the reality is there's a lot more that can be done within memes, and I think there's a lot more that can be done within community building within memes as well. Um, what is really important to think about is kind of the evolution of memes and the evolution of meme communities over time versus single player kind of endpoints. And so when I think of a single player, I think of a given meme and a given token versus multiplayer or multi endpoint, which is a lot of different memes that are either working together in coordination or that are evolving independently of each other. And layered community development is really kind of the next step that we think of as really, really important for memes and meme communities on the internet in general, is trying to figure out, you don't just hire an intern to kind of cover your social strategy, but you actually build, subgroups who are specialists in different part of what we're actually trying to build with social networks. So if we're doing a quick analysis here, from a meme perspective, what are the key things that define a good network? Well, so some of the key problems, as you can see on the left hand side, are there's clearly kind of a top down approach, so there's no voting. And then in terms of scalability, one of the key questions of say meme coins versus NFTs is ultimately NFTs are inherently small, right? Versus meme coins are inherently infinite, if you will. So a couple case studies. So obviously, my time at StockTwits was the greatest kind of a learning environment, if you will. And then my time at TradingView, a lot of the building that was done then applied into TradingView as well. And now what we're doing at my next company, which is Merge7, is kind of building playbooks like this and applying it to other third parties. So this is kind of my time at StockTwits summarized. Early stage startups are like this, as many of you will know. But we did okay. Ultimately, we fumbled the bag, which is as I clearly state here. But it was a great learning environment, and I would gladly do that again. But the real story begins with TradingView, which is it's always brutal building a multi-billion-dollar company, and you just got to accept that. And so this is kind of like stage one, and then stage two. It's like it's always a grind. There's never going to be any difference. And today we're about a $4 billion company. We basically cover about every single asset class in the industry. We now have about 70 million people using the platform every month, and we're the number one rated revenue app on Android. Soon we hope to be iOS as well, but iOS, as you guys know, just changed their policy around 30% rev share. So what we really do, I mean, this is kind of heavily influenced by community building. So a lot of TradingView's product is, I would say, about 80% influenced by community feedback and community building. And this is pretty much exactly the opposite of what we see in crypto. Most crypto does not use community feedback as the indication to what they should build. So there's a lot of stuff, and I'll try to post this online so you guys can actually access it, but there's a lot of learnings from TradingView which do apply to the meme economy. And we also, participate in the meme economy as well. But in general, it's super important that you think about community as kind of a core portion of your product strategy, not the other way around. So building playbooks. So people actually oftentimes my logo representation is not great. People sometimes think it's like a BMW M7. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but the brand architecture is kind of getting there. But ultimately, our thinking is that we want to specialize in bringing a lot of our lessons to many projects in crypto, and there's a ton of overlap in what we do at TradingView versus what we do in crypto in general, and so I want to help people kind of build that life cycle over time. So avoiding landmines and barking up the wrong trees. This is a classic case. There's a lot of places where you do not want to go. But building out diagrams of exactly what your company does and how to build is crucial. And I think a lot of you probably suffer this exact same problem, which is, a couple years in crypto obviously can age you quite fast. So if you can have some people to help you with that, I think that's kind of where we sit. So network building as a service, we really do think the community should be central to not just product, but marketing and voice as well. And really, a community is, or a company is a community, and you just got to really emblemize that to your users on a day-to-day basis. So the age-old questions: can memes be communities in themselves? I think in general, one of the key things we're looking for is people to actually create more evenly distributed meme economies, and not try to acquire 60% of the token or whatever offering there may be. And if they can successfully do that, I think there's a ton of value from that. So we're out of time, and obviously there's a lot more to cover here, but hopefully some of these the tenets can be helpful to you guys, but don't end up like this ultimately. Thank you.